Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the JKL Media Podcast. We're talking today about 12 Monkeys. And we're talking about the sci-fi TV series, not the movie. And this is our kickoff episode. We haven't decided the format yet for how we're going to cover this, but my time traveling companions will pipe in now. How are you doing, Jesse?
I am great.
Excellent. And Karen?
Pretty good.
We're all together in 2023, and that's an important bit of information to keep in mind when discussing this series because it jumps around in time quite a bit. And so that's something that we'll have to get used to. Now, off the top, I have to say that I suggested this series based mostly because the third season of Star Trek Picard was so strong and was such a great love letter to not just Star Trek Generations, but the entire franchise. And I just loved the way that it pulled in various little elements from all the movies and series. And I thought that Terry Matalas did a really excellent job with that. And I had remembered at one time his 12 Monkeys series. I had watched it, and I think we were all in the same boat. We had started watching it, and for whatever reason, it fell off our plate because of other shows and whatnot. And I don't know if there was scheduling changes with it, but we didn't stick with it. But I had remembered at the time that I was impressed with how intricately woven it was and how it handled time travels, how well it was handling the time travel elements. And of course, the whole premise of a dystopian future where the 98% of the world's population is killed by a virus, which is in recent history is something that we can all relate to a lot more now than we could previously to when the show initially aired back in, I want to say here, 2015 through 2018. So it stopped just before we got into the whole COVID thing. So that's interesting. And of course, the movie with Bruce Willis was quite impactful as well, a Terry Gilliam movie. And I just liked the whole idea and thought it would be, it's not a series that I've seen it covered a lot on the social platforms, YouTube or whatever. Maybe I just haven't looked for it, but it's never really popped up in my feeds. And so we're going to talk about the initial episode, and then we're going to take it away from here. And we're going to go watch a couple episodes and see how we want to handle the rest of the series. But I'll just give a brief outline here. 12 Monkeys is an American science fiction series that first aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. It is based in part on the movie by the same name, which in turn was partially based on a short French film entitled La Jetée, I believe is the correct pronunciation. And the synopsis is that in the series, 98% of the world population is killed by the calavirus, and time traveler James Cole was sent back from 2043 to prevent the plague masterminded by the army of the 12 Monkeys. So, with that in place, let's talk about the first episode, and we'll just go with general impressions. And Karen, we'll start with you. What do you think of this?
Yeah, when I watched it again this week, I remembered that I did really like it when I watched it at first run. I was super excited about it because the movie, it's not a super favorite of mine. It was interesting, and I love the time travel-y aspect to it. And I think Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis were amazing in that. And that's saying something because I love Bruce Willis, but Brad Pitt, I feel like he needs to take a shower all the time. But I was really excited when this came out because I thought if they update it, the movie was in 1995 and now we're like, 20 years later, 30 years later. Sorry. Yeah. And I thought it would be super interesting to see where it went. And when I watched it again this week, I remembered that I really enjoyed it and excited to rewatch the series. Very cool. And I'm assuming we're going to probably gang them up from here on out. Mm-hmm. We don't want it to go as long as our Babylon 5 podcast is going to go, since there's 4 seasons. So,
Jesse.
So I know I've never seen the movie.
Oh, wow.
And I vaguely remember watching this episode and just either it didn't capture me, or it was just I had other things going on. So I went into this blind. I knew nothing about the series except it's about time travel. And I really enjoyed this first episode. And part of it is, I know we're just doing an overview, but I am a Hallmark Channel movie junkie. I adore watching Hallmark Channel movies. There is a new one every Saturday. It's on my DVR. I often DVR movies that have been repeats. They're a favorite. And Amanda Schull is often in Hallmark Channel movies.
Oh, okay.
Some of my favorites. And when I saw, she was just in The Blessing Bracelets, which was really wonderfully done, and Project Christmas Wish, and there's all kinds of fun movies that she's been in.
Oh.
And she is one of my favorite actresses from that.
And I wonder where she had gone, because I haven't seen her in anything like higher profile since this series. And she has a Grace Kelly look to her.
She also was amazing in Suits.
Yeah. I loved her in Suits.
Okay.
Even though she was kind of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So I am in. The moment I saw her face on the screen, I'm like, sold. This could be a POS, but it's got her in it. I'm in.
Very good. Okay. That's interesting, because off the first episode, we can't really say that we know the cast yet. Like, I'm looking at the main cast list, and it's quite a bit longer than what we've seen. We have Aaron Stanford as James Cole and Amanda Schull as Cassandra Riley. Kirk Acevedo, who I know better from Fringe, is in this as well. And there's some other characters. I think the only other one that we've really seen so far is Barbara Sakua as Katarina Jones. She's a scientist that's running the time machine in the future. And at the very last scene, we got a quick glimpse of Jennifer Goines, played by Emily Hampshire. And I remember her because her character is so manic. She's like the Brad Pitt equivalent in the series. And I thought she was really good. We'll have to flesh out the main cast as we get more episodes under our belt. I think one of the things I find really curious about this cast is, and nothing against him, but Aaron Stanford is not your leading man kind of character. He's a scruffy, kind of streetwise kind of character. So I'm really curious as to what you guys think of him in the lead role in this show.
Pick me.
Okay, go ahead, Jesse. You know him from Hallmark movies too, or?
No, I cannot stand him. I am sure he is a wonderful actor, and I'm sure he is a kind and loving person, but I don't like how he looks. And I get it, right? Oh, Jesse, he's from the future, and there's nothing. He just looks dirty.
Yes.
And I'm already, I love Superman and Lois, the new CW, but I'm like, why does Clark Kent Superman have to have a 5 o'clock shadow? Why is that the thing now? I'm going to sound like I'm a grumpy old man, and I acknowledge it. I don't like the unshaven look. I don't. Okay. Shave
works for Brad Pitt, though.
Don't shave. Don't shave.
I don't hate it. But
and I get that. I am not the thing. I did not, and I think when you think about it, that may have been why I wasn't. I don't pull for him. Yeah. I'm not immediately engaged by him. I'm also like, I don't have that feel for him.
Yeah, he's a very odd choice for a leading man. I have, again, like, we have nothing against the actor, but it's just unfortunate that there's certain stereotypes or models that are idealistic views of leading men that you have in your head for shows. Like you mentioned Superman, and you can pick any other show, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, blah, 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 A Castle, but you've got that certain kind of leading man look. And as good as an actor as Aaron Stanfield may be, he doesn't have the leading man look. And that's an interesting choice. It plays into the premise of the show, but you would think as he comes back in time and that he would clean himself up a bit. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's my problem. Okay, yes, you don't have... I just rewatched... TNT or something was showing The Martian with Matt Damon, and I taped the movie, and I love the book, and I love the movie.
Did you really tape it, though?
DVR'd it.
Okay, thank you.
And I ended up I watched the whole thing. I ended up watching it, and at the end, right, when he is captured, when he's rescued, they talk about how much he stinks, and he's, I haven't taken a shower in a year. The first thing he's doing is getting a hot shower and getting a good meal. Okay, James Cole, wouldn't you? Hey, I'm in the modern times now. Lead me to a shower. Give me a razor and and some deodorant. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they don't have time, but it took me out of the story. Like, come on, guys, wouldn't you clean up a little bit?
Wouldn't you want to at least
Yes.
take a shower? And we do see them with the food aspect of things.
I did love that. I would eat burgers every day.
He kind of reminds me of Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he's definitely not a leading man. He's a drug addict.
That's a fantastic comparison. Actually.
Yeah. He really does put me in the mind of, and that role is fine for Aaron Paul. It's a good role for him.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy that would be in that role, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Stanford, however, he's not my idea of an attractive leading man. He's okay looking. Don't get me wrong.
It's interesting. If he cut his hair short like Aaron Paul had in the series,
probably
he would look better. But,
and I'm saying probably as to be funny, but yeah, I think he would probably look quite a bit better if he smartened up. I don't care if he shaves. I'm into the stubbly thing.
Yeah.
But I would assume that once he got there, it might not be top of mind to take a shower, but it might have been something that's like, while we're waiting on whatever, while you're getting dressed for this ball or whatever, can I take a shower too? And he doesn't look that clean, even at the party. Yeah. He put on a suit and that's it.
I guess it's their visual way of showing that he doesn't fit into that time period.
And that he's from an apocalyptic kind of landscape.
Yeah. And maybe that's a choice. Yeah. And I get it if people are like, boy, you're really look, I'm no matinee idol myself. So I'm not saying that. It just, and this does not say it won't grow on me. Sure. I remember 18-year-old Jesse going to see Star Wars. And Carrie Fisher was not the idea of what you wanted a space princess to be as an 18-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And that's to my embarrassment, and you end up adoring them. And there's other things where you go, Neil Gaiman told the story, and I know Doctor Who is not Lou's thing, but Neil Gaiman says
that up every time you say that. You just say Doctor Who. Don't say loosely.
Bingo card.
I always feel bad bringing up.
Oh no!
That when they announced the new Doctor, that the cycle is, oh my goodness, this person is wrong. This could never work. This is the worst choice ever.
Daniel Craig.
Then step 2, okay, this might work. Step 3. Oh my God, I was wrong in so many ways. This is the perfect choice for the Doctor.
Right.
And I think you get the same thing. Oh my God, this is a horrible choice for a leading man. Oh, okay, now I can see it. Or no, this was the perfect choice for a leading man.
Yeah.
And my hope is that as we move forward in watching the series, and we are committed to watching this, at least the first season, that his charms will grow on me.
Yeah, and he might be dirty and gross in this episode, and he carries it on for a while at least. I feel like he's not the most unattractive guy in the world. He's really not. No. If I saw him on the street, I'd go, that's a more than average attractive person. But in this particular role, we want the hero to be a hero, right?
Yeah. It's a convention of this type of storytelling,
right?
It's just
we want to be on their side, right?
Yeah, like you've got to sell a show to the general population, so you have to make the cast as attractive as possible, relatable. And I think the only other point I'll make about this, and we'll get off what I hope we all think is a relatively shallow point in the overall
it is
arc of the series.
But I will say we're not on his side because of it. So it's bigger than just vanity.
For me, it's like on our Babylon 5 podcast, I was pretty outspoken about how I hated the hairstyling of the Centurions, Londo in particular. So it looks like Curly from the Three Stooges or something like that. And while I've never come to appreciate it, I can at least accept it. And it doesn't take me out of scenes now, whereas before, as soon as I saw that peacock tail hairstyle, I could hardly concentrate on what else was going on in the scene. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. So let's talk about this as a setup for a series. I thought the flow of the episode was really well done, and I particularly like the fact that they used the really large date scene cards. So you jump from 2013 to 2015 to 2043, blah blah blah. You're never confused about what time period it is. A lot of it has to do with the setting because the future is so crappy looking. But it's if you like time travel stories, this one has a lot of good hooks in it. The first thing is that is a scene in the 2043 where James is hunting for something, and you get into that building, and he picks off that watch. At that time, you don't realize who it belongs to, but then when we go to 2013, you realize that watch belongs to Cassandra. So already you've got this bit of background story in your head that she's going to die. Like, what's going on? And then the fact that they have that meeting in the alley, and then he jumps away, and he says, in 2 years, meet me in this hotel in Philadelphia. And for her, it's 2 years, and her life has gone down the crapper professionally and romantically too. But for him, it's been like 2 hours because he still has the same bullet wound that he had back in 2013. So I like that whole dynamic of how that was working. And I'm just curious, Jesse, how did that part of the episode strike you?
I liked it a lot. It is, there are different ways you can do this on storytelling. You can change the hairstyle, especially facial hair of your lead. And this time period it's bearded Sam.
Yeah.
This time period is mustache Sam. This Is Us was really good at that, right? The main character. Or the color scheme is a little different when they're filming us. They put a different kind of tint on.
Yeah.
Like a black wash.
I like the idea of putting the place card in place. This is the year. Yeah. Some novels will do that. They don't give chapter titles. They just give which characters the point of view you're coming from this chapter. It's Sam, it's Margaret, it's Anne. So I like that about it. I also get into the specifics a little. I really like the idea. It could be a trope. Oh, you've got to go back in the time. And you've got to stop the apocalypse from happening. And you do that by killing one man. And is that okay? Yeah. I love his idea. You're all dead to me. Yeah. At this point, you guys have been dead a long time. I thought was a very good point. I also found this a little more eerie. The same way we did Station 11 and other shows when you talk about global pandemics, because it was only 2 years ago where the world did shut down.
Yep.
And we didn't leave our homes. And it's just, it makes it more realistic. It makes it more interesting to watch, because it becomes definitely speculative fiction versus high fantasy. And what I mean, we're never going to have another global pandemic where the world will shut down. And now we go, yeah, we did. And therefore, the grace of all that's holy, we did not lose even more people. Yeah, I love the storytelling. And what I hope is, I probably am going on way too long, the new Quantum Leap does a really good job of telling the backstory of what's happening in the modern time, along with telling the leap stories, the individual episodes. I think the individual leap stories at times could be a little weak, but overall, the backstory of what's happening in the Quantum Leap headquarters was fascinating.
Yeah.
So my hope is that this series will give us equally strong storylines between what we call modern day and what is our heroes' modern day, and those characters back and forth. That is what my hope is going to be.
All right. Sure.
Yeah, agreed. The main reason I like the slides, cards that have the date on it, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It establishes the year. Fine, good. I'm all in. I know what time frame they're in. I don't have to wonder, okay, is this in the past? Is this in the future?
Yeah.
It's set in stone. And that's something that that I can just say, okay, it's a given. And I like that. I can concentrate on other parts of that story in that case. So I dig that we have this clear cut. And I love that you bring up the book thing. That is my favorite thing in books where there's dual POV or triple POV. When they say, even if they name the chapter, when they say this is Martha's chapter, and it'll just say right above the first line of text, Martha or whatever. I don't have to worry about who's talking. Now it's put me in the mindset of that character. I'm in. So when I see 2013, I'm immediately taken back. Okay, I understand what that time period is. We just lived through it. I get it. No big deal. And I think that is brilliance to just lay it out so he doesn't have to put that in the story.
Yeah, and I assume this is going to be a signature of the series, is these layering of different time elements into the story, because it's I think I always find it fascinating when it's because you're in a position of either more or you're prepared for what the characters are telling you because you've already been to that moment in time, or you've been anticipating going to that moment of time. So right in this pilot, we have that scene where Cole and Cassie are being interrogated by Leyland Boynes, aka Leyland Frost, who Cole initially believed was behind the plague that destroys the world. And Leyland looks at Cole and says, I know you. We've met before. And he says, I think it was in 1987, or why he remembers the exact year is a little bit. This is a time travel series, so they want to nail these things down. He would say, we met like maybe 10, 15 years ago or something like that. That would have made more.
Why'd you have to put that in my head, Lou?
Oh, sorry.
Why would he remember the year? Now I'm going to think about that.
Yeah. They put lanterns on the years because I think it's going to get confusing if they don't. So you have to go with it. But the fact that he's seen this guy before and also says that, and you don't look any different, and that was like 20 years ago. Like that, I just love that kind of storytelling. So that's going to set up something interesting in the future. And the other thing that I really like is that everybody in this series is potentially dead. If James succeeds in his mission, he's going to be wiped out of existence. If he doesn't, Cassie's going to die. Plus 98% of the world. The stakes are high without getting into this like, oh, we've got to save the universe thing that we see in a lot of big tentpole movies and that, which after a while you get numb to, because once you've saved the universe 5 times, the 6th time doesn't really carry that much more oomph to it. So this one's a little more personal. And I think that's one of the strengths of serialized television versus movies, is you can get much more into the characters and get more emotionally connected with them, so that when these things do happen, it has a bigger impact than potentially with a movie. So yeah, there's just a lot of already interleaving within this episode. It's setting up a lot of interesting things. Right off the bat, I have to say that the lead character, the scientist, Barbara Sakawa, who plays, who does she play again? I still don't know all the character names. That's the hardest. Katerina, that's why Jones. She, right off the bat, she strikes me as an interesting character. And from what I remember going forward in the series, she does have a very interesting storyline as well. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that character, Karen, and anything else that you want to mention about the episode.
Sure. Yeah, I love that glimpse into the future where we're just starting to see how the time travel works. It's just enough to whet our appetite. We also see the surroundings it's in, like a big warehouse type place. It's definitely not like in a clinical lab or anything. So we see that it might be cobbled together. Right. And it really does set a tone for the future. And the whole world building in the future was quite in depth, and just in the pilot, we get to see what it's like. A very dystopian future. And we understand exactly why he wants to fix things. It's bad. And it also makes us wonder, is there something more to his motivation? Does he have a vested interest in this? Does Jones have a vested interest? What motivates each person that's working on these? Ramsey. So yeah, I love that it's giving us more story than it's actually saying.
Yeah, I like this. The premise we're setting up, as you mentioned, I knew this was a one-way mission, and that has been said many times to other people, but the idea is if I fix things, I'm going to go away. And then when it looks like you fixed it and it didn't go away, oh, what does that mean? And you also have to wonder, it's never that simple. That time travel, you can't, it's hard to place a dam because water will find its own, it will keep looking to find a way to travel. So I like that a lot. I do, and there are some moral debates that are cut and dry to me. But then there's other moral debates that I do have a trouble with. Is needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few?
Or
The
the one.
needs of the one.
Yep.
And the idea that if one of you knew that by killing me you would have world peace, right? And
Yep.
that millions of people would live.
Yep.
But could you kill me? Even knowing that would be, I don't think I could. I don't think I could make that decision.
I could kill Hitler as a baby. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scale you got to be on.
And so it is, yeah, I hope they do this well. And I did not realize that this writer had done Picard till you brought it up. And what's also funny is how many people on 12 Monkeys, their latest
have been in his project.
Yeah, their latest IMDb credit is Picard.
Yeah, I think the lead played the Ferengi in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, and in his earlier works too. He has a stable of people.
And so yeah, I just think this could be, if they do this well, and I don't know. I assume this ended, I hope they ended on their terms. And
yes,
so we get
Yep.
So we should get a beginning, middle, and end. And if that's the case, that it's always nice to find a series that is self-contained and you go, wow, that was a really good novel for television.
Yeah. And I think the final thing that I want to talk about is the rules that they're going to play by with time travel. There's several different types of time travel stories. There's the ones where, the paradoxes. There's others where each timeline is a branch off another timeline, or there's ones where a timeline becomes totally separate from another timeline. This one, we're not quite sure what it is going to play out as, but it seems to be going for more of that, the branching type. We've seen nicely dramatized. Something unique is when a object, or I assume anything from a person or whatever, from two different time periods come together. That's not a good thing. It's like matter and antimatter mixing together. So I think that plays out quite well, or that was illustrated quite well in this episode. And I'm going to be curious to see how they have ripple effects of changes going through various timelines as well. And also, I think that was the premise of the movie, was a lot of time travel stories, when you go back to prevent something, you actually become the inciting incident that causes it to happen in the first place. And that'll be interesting to see if that plays out in this series as well. So,
yeah, it would be cool if they used it.
Yeah.
Or even if they subverted it.
Especially if they subvert it. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember who did it, but someone said that 2020 was proof that there was time travel, because every time it can't get worse, it got worse, right? Oh, then we had the new variants, then we had killer wasps or whatever, right? Or then we had this. You just met, someone's gone back in time. Okay, I'm going to stop the COVID-19. And by trying to fix it, a ripple effect and something worse happened. Okay, now I'm going to go fix it again. Now I know how to fix it. And each time something just worse happened.
Yeah.
See, I feel like 2016 was proof that time travel worked, because how sure were you that Hillary Clinton was going to be president? Yeah, and then all of a sudden, whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't-
Just to jump to the left.
Yeah,
Right?
he jumps off. I don't know if either one of you watched The Good Fight.
No.
but I know of it.
There
yeah.
is if you have access to Paramount, if there is an episode where the main character wakes up and she has a dream that Hillary won, and it shows all the crap that goes wrong because Hillary won.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
I've
it
seen
is
the
worth.
same premise like with if John F. Kennedy had not been assassinated.
And
Yeah.
so it is only an hour, and it is really interesting to see some of the things that their premises, if Hillary had won, this would have happened, and that it's not all perfect by doing that. Yeah.
I think my final thought and curiosity is going to be that the central premise of the show seems to be, as you mentioned, Jesse, like the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the one, where it's definitely where Cole and I think Cassandra are. But if they become, I don't know if romantically involved or just friends or whatever, are they going to be able to maintain that objectivity? And will their decision process change? Will the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many? And that, I think that's the central question of this series, at least what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
I do not buy them as a romantic couple yet. I do not ship them.
Too many Hallmark moments for Jesse.
Agreed.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah. There are. She has had better guys that have searched for us. So I'm not buying the romantic.
But I don't think in any of your movies,
yet.
those guys were trying to save the world.
They're trying to save towns sometimes, right?
Yes, maybe, they are. Yes.
That's one of the huge tropes.
Yes, it is.
Is you got to try and save the town.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a good kickoff episode.
I think so too.
In your next one, you'll find out what the format is we're going to be taking, and I'll give each of you a chance for last words, and then we'll sign off. Karen, any last thoughts?
No, I'm excited to go on this little journey with you guys, especially if we're going to accelerate, because I do think that the story is convoluted if you try to take it one episode at a time, like we're doing with B5. I also dig, and I'm assuming that someone might call me out on this, Emily Hampshire, who's only in the last scene or so. She's also concurrently to this series on Schitt's Creek.
Oh.
Playing a million times apart, different character. And it's cool to see her in something else. I know she's had some ups and downs in her career, but the fact that she was on 2 series at the same time really intrigues me. I didn't remember she was on. And when I watched it originally, I hadn't seen any of Schitt's Creek. So that might be why I didn't remember. But I do a lot of this stuff. I like that they made, what's his name?
James Cole?
The dead guy.
Oh,
the guy they killed.
Goines. Yep.
Goines. Thank you.
Leyland Goines.
Leyland Goines. I like that they made him horrible. So we didn't feel bad that he died. I just like that they're making it easy for us to like the story. And I think that's a good start.
Okay.
Yeah. The actor who plays Leland Goines, I can never pronounce his name. Ila Jukka Amanik. So I butchered that. He is amazing in any role he plays.
Yeah, one of those character actors. As soon as you see him, you know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely adored him.
He usually plays pricks, but
yeah. When he played the chief of staff on Madam Secretary and was brilliant in that role. Just he did the full thing. He played Russell Jackson, and I think played so well of how do you balance doing the right thing and the political thing. Just truly one of my favorite actors. And I'm sorry that he's only in a few episodes, though it looks like when they were doing this was probably the same time that Madam Secretary was going on. And so he couldn't have spent many time with it, but just one of my favorite actors. And I'm looking forward to this. This will be a nice. The other thing that I'm really happy we're doing is we're doing multiple episodes at a time. We are not binging Babylon 5. We are doing one episode at a time. And there are times when you want to go, and maybe we should do 3 or 4 at a time.
Because I want to watch the next.
Yeah, because we want to watch more. But I think this kind of series will do well with us, however we format it, whether we do 2 or 3 at a time, a season at a time, whatever it is. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you pronounce his name Jilko Ivanek.
Okay, Jilko Ivanek. Okay,
cool.
Nice.
I looked it up.
He is such,
I mean,
he's one of my favorite people.
He's not in more than one episode of this, or he might be down the line. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 episodes. Sorry. I don't think we need to stay spoiler free on this either, which is going to be good.
I don't know about that.
I have not been spoiled, so
Okay, me either. But I've watched some of it, so I do have some inklings.
But none of us really remember that specific. So
No,
I know
really.
there's allusions to certain, like the 12 monkeys, that kind of thing. There's other groups, I believe, and there's the
fact that Cole goes back further.
Yeah. But other than that, we don't have to be that. This is not a high profile show, so I think the chances of running into spoilers are pretty small anyhow.
Right. Yeah, I do.
All right, folks, if people want to find out more about us, Jesse, where can they go to find you?
On this very feed, you can hear us talking every Babylon 5 episode in chronological order. That is spoiler free.
No time jumping.
Lou and Karen are the newbies. I am the veteran. And we have a lot of fun talking about that series. You can hear me talk Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere every other Wednesday. I record with my buddy Charles. And of course, where you hear me the most is on Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to guests about their love of music, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or other artists. And so I hope you check that out. And I'm at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. I'm still hanging on Twitter, mostly to promote my podcasts, but I'm also every once in a while fighting the good fight and getting into wars with some people who do not agree how I agree.
Right. Karen.
Yeah, I am at Eliveria on social media. I'm still on Twitter because people I follow are fine. Yep. They're not going to go crazy on me. And so that means I'm not terribly exposed to the bad sides of Twitter. And I'm definitely not paying for it. So I'm still there at Eliveria. I have a TikTok and Instagram and all that. And I'm at Eliveria there as well. My blog is aliesstuff.com. And should we give them our email in case they want to email us about 12 Monkeys?
Sure.
Absolutely. And I will pull that up since
JKL.
Yeah. Oh no, hang on. I'm getting it. It is JKLB5podcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
Very good.
We can use that for this too.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can find this podcast on our YouTube channel at Lou's Reviews, where they also will find the Babylon 5 podcast, the Writers Podcast, Stephen King Podcast, and JKL Media Podcast, where we do one-offs of limited run series or comic books or movies or books or something that just grabs our fancy and we want to share with the world and each other. And we have a lot of fun doing that as well. So with that, the Splinter Machine has been shut down for a little while until a couple of weeks into the future when we'll be talking to you again. Until then, take care and be good to each other, as Jesse is always fond of saying. Yep. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
And scene.